Profanity Nation.
Yeah, it's the new era of man for some old school fans with a new school brand. We got money on the mic with the plan in hand. And Stat Pat to his left, they go hand in hand. And to the right, we got Simpster, he putting it down. It's the Profanity Nation, we running the town. Yeah,
It's the Profanity Nation.
Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Profanity Nation podcast, where we are the voice of the professional fan. Ooh, good show today, guys.
I'm excited.
Let's get to it. First of all, Money Mike, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Hey, big shout out to Black Pearl Elite. They lost a hard one at the Drew League.
The finals.
We're told that if after the NBA championship, the Drew League championship is
second.
That's the second in line. So
I'll let them tell
loss.
Yeah,
I'll let them tell that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Big shout out to Black Pearl, but y'all gonna be back next year, man.
Absolutely.
Great run.
Stat Pat, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great now. I'm in studio. I had to get away from the wife and kids, so
You get some free time?
I am got some free
You
time
get to hang
right
out with
now.
some friends?
It's only for the show, and then I'm gonna the ankle
Go
bracelet
back.
gets hot, and I gotta go right back
Starts
home.
beeping, right?
Yep.
It's limited.
Yeah.
Well, we have an amazing guest on the show tonight. You all know him. He's an icon. He's absolutely outstanding. We have Peter Vecsey joining us. He is just waiting backstage right now to join us. But as always, as you know, we start the show with our guy, Marco Nunez. Let's get Marco Nunez in here.
Hey, Marco.
Hey, Marco, how you doing?
What's going on, gentlemen? How's everybody doing today?
Good, man.
Good, man. We missed you,
Been
man.
a minute,
It's
right?
been a little
Yeah.
bit. You're on summer vacation.
Yeah, we went took a little vacation. Finally got to go to Hawaii after 2-3 years with this whole COVID thing. They finally opened up the islands, and we had the opportunity to finally kind of go there, type of thing. And then
Nice.
kind of busy with traveling and working, so I've been a little MIA for about 2-3 weeks.
That's
Oh,
okay.
no, it's
it's
all good,
football
man.
preseason, of course.
Yeah.
Money Mike, you have a question,
Yeah.
please.
Hey, so I wanted to ask you, man. This guy Lebron
This
and
guy,
Tatum
he says.
was out there at Jamal Crawford's league, and then they stopped the game in the second quarter because of condensation on the court. Now this is like a regular gym, so first of all, I don't even know how condensation comes on the court, But how dangerous is that for like any player, especially we'll call him an elite player?
Man, come on,
LeBron.
dude.
LeBron.
Yeah,
How about Tatum, an elite player like
Yeah,
Tatum?
Tatum was there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Chet
Tatum
Holmgren,
was there.
the rookie Chet.
Yeah, Chet.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Marco. Sorry.
So condensation on the court. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
So condensation is basically when there's either like a thin layer of liquid or water that kind of develops on the floor, or either when someone spills something on the floor, type of thing. Now it's kind of weird to kind of hear that on this court type of thing. One of the most common places we do see that in the NBA is whenever we travel to an NBA city that has a hockey team there, because what they do is they put the court on top of the ice. Obviously, they put a layer like between the ice, and then they put the court. And there's been some games where you walk on the court and there's the condensation. Either the ice underneath is either too hot in the room and the arena that kind of starts melting, and it kind of seeps through it, and then you start getting a little bit of liquid on the floor. Obviously, any type of liquid makes the floor very slippery. If the floor becomes slippery, a player basically tries to stop on a dime and pivot and turn. They can lose their footing, and they can easily pull a hamstring, pull a groin, roll an ankle. Worst case scenario, tear an ACL type of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So how do they realize that like after the game starts though? Because
Yeah, right. Did they know that before?
I'm just thinking logically. Like, look, y'all didn't know this like 30 minutes before the game starts. Warm-ups. That there may be an issue. Why are we stopping the game in the second quarter?
Correct.
I mean, you may not know the answer. I'm just thinking logically.
Yeah.
Probably an overpacked
Like,
gym.
I mean,
Getting sweaty in there.
Because my question is, like, did they know this? And then they said, well, we got to give them something. And
Just go
we're
as
going
long
to
as
get one
you
quarter.
can.
And then they just stopped it because they thought it was too dangerous.
Maybe this is something that needs to start regulating, especially in the Drew, like I just mentioned. There's a lot of pro athletes starting to go there. In the NBA, the refs go out on the court and they check the flooring. Make sure there's no condensation. Too, they make sure they got to make sure that the flooring themselves. When they put the floor together, it's like a puzzle, and they got to make sure that it connects correctly. If there's a gap, I remember there was one court that we went to that there was a nice, like almost like a good 4-inch gap between these two pieces. So that we couldn't start the game. They had to, the crew had to come in, they had to take half of the court off and then kind of reconnect it again, type of thing. So the ref's job is to go out there. There's an NBA official that does that. I myself, as the athletic trainer, and the other team, we would walk the floor to make sure there's any condensation, there's any cracks, anything like that, as far as before we start the game. And then finally, at the end of the day, the players give you a little bit of feedback. They'll tell the ref, hey, there's a slippery floor over here. They have people, in the NBA, they have court attendants with mops as you see them, that they'll go out there and they kind of mop it. Maybe now that the professional athletes are going to the Drew League, or they have been going to Drew League, that's something they may want to kind of regulate, having some ball attendants, court attendants to be able to mop the floor. Because what happens is also that if you keep in mind is that when you're in the free throw line, most of the athletes are leaning over, they're sweating. Right. Some of that sweat can come down. So if you notice an NBA game, as soon as the free throw play concludes and they go to this side of the court, the ball attendant kids on the court, their job is to make sure they sweep that free throw line, borderline every single time. That is always mandatory. So the condensation could be probably came from the sweat from the athletes.
Perfect. Now, I have a question for you. As the head athletic trainer for a professional team, are you guys just cringing when your players go to these pro-am games? Or is this something you're like, oh no, it's a good tune-up, it keeps them in shape?
It depends. Like I said, the Drew League, I think, has been around for several years. It's become more of a professional league type of thing. You do get a little cringing when you have athletes that have their basketball camps, and then sometimes there's a kid or somebody, hey, I think I could take you on, and they play one-on-one.
Yeah.
Those are the times where we're like, okay, we have this young kid or this athlete, right, that wants to try to prove himself with this pro athlete. But at the Drew League, I think the Drew League's been around for so many years already that it's become a professional league, that it's kind of like, okay, there's an understanding. And I think that's the other reason why maybe they should start kind of, I don't want to say regulate, but actually having ball and then swap and stuff like that. Because if you're going to have all these specials, because God forbid anything happens in the Drew League, and it may become, maybe we don't want to go to the Drew League anymore. Right. You don't want to. I'm sure the Drew League doesn't want to get to that point.
Mm-hmm. We have to go really quick, but I do have one more question. You may not know this one. Is it possible to put in the contract that the players cannot participate in the Drew League? Is that something that the athletic trainer could demand or request?
Not the athletic trainer, but the team can demand it, because as far as most contracts with professional athletes, there are certain restrictions that athletes cannot do. They can't ride motorcycles, they cannot ride Sea-Doos, they cannot go skydiving. There's certain activities that athletes are prohibited from doing while they're under contract. And if they do it, if we go back, and I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, several years ago.
Vladimir Romanovich.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you that he went sporting. That was kind of restricted from his contract, and he decided to do it. The Lakers found out, and they actually had to find. I mean, technically, they could have voided his whole entire contract.
Yeah,
but I think
Lakers are a good organization about that.
Yeah, they could have just voided his whole contract, and he wouldn't have got paid. But I think they just fined him, I think, like $500,000 or something like that, because he ended up with an AC sprain up here in the shoulder. So there's certain things. So I don't know. Like I said, it may get to the point where an athlete can have like a season-ending injury in the Drew League, and then it may get to that point. But obviously, the Drew League, they don't want to get that, so they should take some of the precautions to make sure they don't get there.
You're awesome. Nice. Marco, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back.
Thank you. Welcome
we'll have
back.
you again next week. Please let everybody know
how to get into this NFL real quick.
Hey, fantasy, man.
Fantasy and so forth. But please let everybody know how the best way to keep up to date with what you've got going on, Marco.
Mike, let's talk before you do your draft. If you want to follow me on Instagram at Marco A. 17, or please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Evolve Athletic Performance.
Thank you, Marco. We'll see you next week. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Marco.
All right, great info as always, guys. Okay, so we're super excited. Yeah, now we're ready. Excited. Okay, so let's introduce them, of course. Okay, so we have the amazing, the iconic, the historic, the regularly quoted, the nickname inventor.
Yes.
We have the great Peter Vecsey with us. Let's bring him on right now, because we're super excited.
Yes, man.
Hello, Peter. How are you doing tonight?
Good. I got my ankles taped. I'm ready.
You're ready.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's late. You're on the East Coast, so this really means a lot to us. We've been looking forward to this quite a bit. So thank you, and thank you again.
I would have liked to have asked your trainer, though. I said, we didn't have that trouble in the Rucker when we played on blacktop. No condensation. What is that? Is that like an LA thing?
No, see, I knew it was coming.
I think it was Seattle. That pro-am game was, I think, in Seattle.
Yeah, it was Seattle. Yeah. Condensation is
condensation near my bathtub.
Yeah, exactly. On the mirror or something. Let me tell you. Go ahead, Pat. Please start.
No, so I always call you. I want to say Mr. Vecsey because I respect.
No, call me Peter.
I'll call you Pete. But
Peter.
Off the top, I want to ask you. So you're from Queens. I'm assuming you grew up a Knicks fan. So and you cover it. I mean, when I think about the NBA on NBC, it's all of the games, and then it's you. Like, you're like the pre-Woj. You're like pre-all that. You were always breaking stories. It's like you were the guy. So, but I like the fact that you were kind of like still a little abrasive. Like, you didn't give them anything.
Edgy.
If they were messing up, I want to say effing up, but if they were messing up, you kind of like calling them out on it. So I like the fact that you were sitting there and being able to have the stones to be able to call out these players when they were messing up. And we don't get that now. We get a lot of coddling of these athletes right now. So how do you feel now being who you were and being in your profession and seeing other people do your job now, see how they are basically just not giving the hard questions, the thing that we being the real fans want to hear.
I only got an hour. I only got 45 minutes, man. Your question is longer than Bob Costas's question.
My man, I'm trying hard.
Ask me the question.
I will ask you this. How does it feel looking at these guys basically coddle these athletes nowadays?
Well, I don't know whether they coddle them or not, Pat. I don't pay that much attention to what's going on, with day-to-day stuff. I don't even have the league pass anymore. I watch the playoffs. I read a lot. Do they coddle them? I don't know. I could call out guys for that. I hate when people compare me to Woj because he breaks stories that agents and executives of teams want him to break. Period. I broke stories that nobody wanted to be broken. No, they never wanted them to be broken. So I hate that, comparing me to him. He did, when I was basically at the end of my career, he came up to me one day and told me that, so, you and I are the only ones that know what's going on in this league.
Yikes.
Really?
And I said, and who are you?
I love it.
No, I mean, really, like what freaking nerve he's got. But whatever, he's making a bundle. He's on television. He's terrible. But
He's bad though.
He doesn't, whatever, but him, I could come down on him. But the other guys, look, I read a lot of stuff that I like. Coddling the guys, I'm told by people that do cover the league, like Mark Stein, guys that I mentored when they first started, that the only way to deal with the league today is you've got to make friends with the agents. And not that was any different than when I was around, except, I would bust an agent, whether he was a source or not. Guys like Woj, they are not going to do that. They protect them. And for that, they get information. And so I definitely resent that part of it. And they're all those top guys are part of it. You can read it. You can see the way they announce things or pronounce things, whatever, break things. But so I absolutely, read stuff that I like. Different newspapers online. I subscribe to the Times and Boston Globe, and I subscribe to Mark Stein's on Subtrack. But so I don't know if I answered your question or not.
You did great.
You really did.
You did great.
Let me just say this: I've followed you. I've seen you ask these questions that I feel like one in particular when. Right after the Bulls won the championship, you was asking Karl Malone, like, do you think you could have played better? I don't know if you remember.
Well, let me interrupt you there. So I don't. Meanwhile, I've lost you on here for some reason. You can still see me?
Yeah, we're still.
I
we can
still
still
got
see
you. We got you.
I'm not sure why I lost you, but let me see if I can get you back.
No problem. We can see you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear it. So you can see me. It doesn't matter if I see you.
Fine.
So that interview with Karl Malone, everybody wants to make it way more than it was. I was interviewing the guy after a game and asking him, I don't think they were particularly hard questions. He didn't take it that way. If you look at him, he's not saying, man, like people today, oh, he's trying to get punched by Karl Malone. Karl Malone, you could see his reaction. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I'd interviewed him many times before, so he was always a good interview, and he would always answer the questions. He would always answer them. So he answered those questions, and nobody said a word about it for about 20 years, and then suddenly, some dope on online said, "Oh, look what Vecsey's trying to do." And I saw him at an All-Star game. I think it was in New Orleans, probably was. And I said to him, "Hey, they're trying to make this into a big deal." I said, "Did you take it that way?" He said, "No, I didn't." And I said, "You and I should do a podcast together." And he said, "Well, you know where to find me." And
Well, we're going to send out that invitation now. So get you guys together. That's for sure.
Yeah, but see, my point with that was you asked like the real questions, like the stuff
we want to know.
People really want to know, in that moment. So I didn't take it like you were trying to
controversial,
get them controversial. But these are really honest questions that I think like people want to know. And I love that when you go and you will break a story, you wouldn't call into an agent or trying to get in good with them so they could give you more information.
Nothing was spoon fed.
Right there. I love that you found this out, and you probably broke a whole lot of stuff that people did not want to be broken.
Well, there's no question about that. And in the process of doing that over the years, I lost a lot of good friends temporarily, or made enemies temporarily. For the most part, the people who were angry at me during my career, who wanted to fight me, I would say only 2 or 3 of them would probably still want to fight me today. The rest of them are my good friends. And so things they understand. Most of the guys understand that I was doing my job, and that I wouldn't hesitate to go after the number 1 guy on the team or the head coach, as just as I would go after the 12th man on a team, or an assistant, or the general manager, whatever. I didn't play any favorites, and so even guys like Julius Erving, who was the best man at my wedding.
Absolutely.
And, I went after him when he held out from the Nets. I thought he was definitely doing them dirty, and because there was nothing in writing. And I did a podcast with him. My first one that I did for the Retired Players Association was with him, and he brought it up on the air. He said I was kind of surprised. He said he kind of regrets doing what he did. He kind of wishes he had stayed with the Nets.
Yeah.
And don't we all? That would have been a great team that they would have brought into the NBA, because they had just got Tiny Archibald, and would have been exciting as anything. Anyway.
Absolutely. Now that actually segues perfect to my question. Well, I know you're not watching every game day to day anymore, just because you don't have to do that. So you're watching big games, playoffs, and so forth, but you're keeping up to date. The Kevin Durant situations, the Kyrie situations, really the state of the NBA these days, it's changed so much since when you first started in the industry and watching the game grow. What's your assessment of the game today and the power that these players have?
Well, certainly I'm like everybody else. I don't like it at all that a guy like Kevin Durant, who just signed a 4-year contract the year before, is now demanding that the coach and the general manager need to be fired, or else he wants to be traded. I will say that he's probably right, that they do deserve to be fired, but I don't like it. I don't know Kevin at all, really. I've only talked to him once in my life, and that was at the end of his Warriors career. I saw him out in Phoenix, and we talked for a while. But I don't know him. But I've always liked him. Obviously, you like his game.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't like what's going on. The power has definitely shifted. I don't mind the power shifting. A lot of people took exception to LeBron, Wade, and Bosh getting together in Miami. I did not. I felt that the idea is to win, and if you're a free agent, that's what it's all about. Go where you want. And so I wrote it like that at the time, and still feel that way. But when you're under contract and these guys are holding up, it used to be they'd hold out, and now they hold up teams. and how many, with Davis with the, with New Orleans and,
Yep.
Yeah.
and on and on, and Harden did it with the Nets last,
Yep.
no, man, I don't like that at all. I don't know what the league can do about it. The perception is really warped from the fans' point of view. The media's, they have to do something. They have to try to do something, but they have to do it in conjunction with the union. They have a big say in it.
Yep.
And I really don't know what they can do. This is going to be a guy with 3 years on his contract is a test case. Personally, I say, you stay where you are, and that's it. We're not even going to talk about it anymore. Either show up or don't show up.
Exactly. That's my thought with the Nets. If I was in there, I'd be like, okay, then you're not playing for the next 3 years. I guess you're retiring.
Kyrie's got 1 year. The same thing.
Yeah.
He keeps saying the right thing. Is like he wants to. Publicly says he wants to play for the Nets. But I'm told he absolutely would like to play for the Lakers. But the Lakers aren't going. The Nets aren't going to take back Westbrook for him,
Right.
even though they're on the same contract, same expiration date. They're not going to do that.
I mean,
so it takes a ballsy owner to really clamp down on the whole thing. And the Nets owner did not do that with Kyrie last year. He wouldn't take the vaccination. He told him he wasn't going to get paid. He wasn't going to get. He wasn't going to be able to play. And then halfway through the year or somewhere around there, he decided to do it the other way. He said he could play on the road. And I know, again, I don't know too much, but I know for a fact the league was not happy with that. Not happy at all. I mean, you made a decision, stick by it. So this owner is wavering, what does he know? He's listening to a general manager who I think stinks. And I think Durant is absolutely right. They never, ever should have gotten Harden. They didn't need him. And they gave up how many great players for him, Allen and Cleveland. I mean, come on. I mean,
Right.
Totally screwed it up. But I will say, and I emphasize and I underline it, it could have been the owner saying it, not the general manager. You just don't know unless you're in that room. For instance, everybody to this day, and I'm sure you guys are among them, blames Billy King for the Garnett Pierce giving up draft picks and all that stuff. And, they said it was Billy King, the general manager, who did it, when it was not Billy King who did it. It was the Russian owner who did it.
Yeah.
He demanded he do it. And Billy took the fall, and he's never said anything differently. But I know it wasn't him. He didn't want to do it, give up all those picks. But the owner wanted to win immediately. Probably knew he was going to, sell a team quickly. And so Billy's out of a job, with the NBA. He'll never get another GM job. And, again, I think the owner took care of him for a year or two. He should have taken care of him for life. He's a billionaire.
Right. Cost him his career.
He did. So I say the Nets GM now is responsible, but I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, Peter. But my whole thing about, say, for example, Kevin Durant says he wants to go to Boston. Okay, cool. I'm gonna see you to Boston, but
we don't know that. We don't know that. We read that.
Just an example.
That's what this report is. My whole thing though is if I send you to Boston, I need to take 4 of their stars back. Wait, why am I
at least Tatum in the crowd?
Yeah, why am I trying to put you on a team that's going to possibly immediately make it to the finals? I need to get something back for this $40 million that we're getting.
It's kind of like when the Lakers traded Shaq, right?
Yeah,
and we didn't
To Miami.
we didn't get Dwayne Wade back in any trade. I mean, if you did that trade right now, we're fleecing.
Yeah.
Miami Heat for
Well,
sure.
look, the Nets in Boston is deja vu all over again. You're going to make the same mistake he's made before. Like, wait,
Exactly.
of one team I'm not dealing with is Boston. In the old days, you only dealt something like this in another conference. Send them to another conference.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in the same division with the team.
Exactly.
Durant.
That was the rule. You'd send them away so that you would only see them again in the finals.
Only.
If that ever happened.
You see him twice. You see him twice during the year.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
So, I wouldn't do it. But again, I don't know. I don't call around and ask what's going on. Is Boston really live? I have no idea. Every day you read something about Newsflash, newsflash. And the guy, it's not a newsflash. It's a writer making up something. Well, this is the trade that I think would work. And it's like a newsflash.
Yeah, they
What the
try.
hell?
You're right. You look at it, it looks like it's breaking news and like the
Yeah,
trade.
it's not. It's nothing. It's like, I mean, I'd be embarrassed if I were these people.
Yeah. And so I'm sorry,
Go ahead,
I'm sorry, Money. I want to ask you a question because obviously when you were reporting on these stories, we're not in this 24-hour news cycle. And so now that we are, people are just trying to break stories just to get their name out there. And I think they're being a little disingenuous with just us as the fans and us being the just wanting to see the game, but we want to get the inside scoop, but we don't want people be fabricating stories. And I think every day there's always some fictive, some fake
fictitious. Yeah,
that's not, we know it's not going to happen, but it's going to get likes.
It's going to get some reads.
It's going to get some reads, and we're going to get some clicks. And we're now at that age where it's that, and I think is really bad for the game that we're now just is the entertainment versus just the game being the entertainment. We're trying to emulate the NFL where we have to have something on a news cycle every day, every month.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad that I'm not writing anymore because in my time, the NBA would end after the free agent, like the first 2 weeks of July, it was over. And then you could take the summer off. I was like a school teacher for 20 years. I would just take the rest of the summer off and I'll see you in training camp. Mm-hmm. Now it just goes on and on and on. It would have really ruined my vacation. So I'm glad I don't have it. But I hear you about the clicks and all that. It's like if you're really a smart fan, if you're really smart, you follow people that, over time you learn that these guys actually do have sources. They might not come through for, a week or two, whatever. But then something happens, or you've got confidence in that writer that he actually knew what was being talked about. Didn't mean that it didn't happen, that he was wrong. And I used to do that a lot in the beginning when I first wrote. I had an editor when I worked at the New York Daily News that, I'd be saying stuff was going on and he'd be keeping track of what happened after what I wrote. And so, I obviously hated that, son of a bitch, but, it was like, he didn't get it. He didn't get it at all. But, at the Post was a little different. The fans, you had to break in the fans on, hey, I know what's going on, man. I know. So then, and they found out, did everything happen that I said? I never, I think maybe only once or twice, maybe twice in my career, I said something was going to happen and it didn't, or something happened and it didn't, twice.
That's great.
The other stuff, I had it either exactly right, or I was speculating. It was like, I called it educated speculation because I had great context. And so people who read me continually, they got to know that what I was talking about is the truth. Yeah, I do. You talk about today and everybody wants to be first. They don't care if they're right. But they want to be first. Mm-hmm. I would enjoy competing with them in this market the way it's done. And I've said this on other programs. I honestly believe, without a doubt, that I could do it in the newspaper and wouldn't have to do it on Twitter. I would have it in the paper before they had it on Twitter. And the reason I say that without, with all due modesty or immodesty, all due immodesty, because when after I retired from the Post, I wrote for Patreon, maybe 2 years or something, and so I broke several stories on Patreon, not on Twitter, Patreon, and they came true. And you're in LA, so you could look it up. So one of them was, the biggest one was, I guaranteed that LeBron James was going to be a Laker 10 months before he became a Laker. Guaranteed it. And everybody just shrugged it off. And then when it happened, nobody gave me credit. Some people tried to take credit for it.
Of course.
And then the other one was the Lakers tampering with Paul George. I had that. And, they got fined $500,000 as it turned out. They should have had a number one pick taken from them. But again, I remember doing the Lakers station out there, radio station out there, and some jerk off who was interviewing me was saying, "Oh, you're saying that about tampering because you're not a Magic Johnson fan." And I said, "Does that make any sense at all?" I mean,
No.
And then of course, when it happened, I didn't hear from him. But
of course.
Anyway, so I would like to. I mean, I know stuff now, which I'm not gonna reveal it here, but I know stuff now that I could break tomorrow and not on Twitter, but
of course.
Well, Peter, what we're gonna do? Sorry, Mike. We're gonna take a quick break. We just have to run a couple of our sponsors, just for 1 minute, and then we're gonna come back with the great Peter Vecsey. This is the Profanity Nation podcast. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Coming right back. United One Protection Services. With over 30 years of experience, United One Protection Services has more expertise and knowledge than the other security companies combined. Residential, commercial, municipal, or institutional, United One Protection Services does more than just security. We protect your livelihood. United One Protection Services. Be sure to visit the Pure Life Alternative Wellness Center for all your 420 needs. They have everything from baby Jeters to Stizzy cartridges, fuzzies, pre-rolls, great deals on eighths, raw garden diamonds. They have your gear. They have Papa and Barkley relief patches. After a hard workout, you need those. CBDs, you know that. They have plenty of edibles to choose from. Be sure to hit up the Pure Life Alternative Wellness Center. Hey, we're back. Thank you for joining us. We are the Profanity Nation podcast, and we have our amazing guest, Peter Vecsey, with us today. And Peter, what I'd like to do is I'm just going to say a couple players' names. You just say right off the top of your head kind of what you think and so forth, okay?
All right.
Let's start with James Harden.
Yeah, you say what?
Yeah, James Harden. I wonder why you picked him. Not a fan. I voted for the top 75. I had a vote. Did not vote for him. He's an official scorer who seemed to come up short big time every big game in his career. Was not easy to play with. You talk about writers coddling players. I mean, his general manager now with Philly coddled him in Houston. Allowed him to get away with ridiculous stuff, just unbelievable stuff. The Nets went and got him for God knows what reason. I know, you read stuff about, he was tired of Kyrie and that's why he wanted out. No. He had a deal with that, with the GM Morey. Yeah. And he knew he could go to Philadelphia. And so he screwed the Nets, he screwed them in the trade. They never should have given up as much. And then it wasn't about Kyrie at all. I remember Durant, I heard Durant was really angry at him because he was out all night, not all night. He was out partying, going to the strip clubs. He's never gotten over that habit. And so he was angry at him. He had that supposedly a bad hamstring. Yeah, right. But didn't stop him from going out and partying. So not a fan.
Perfect. Steph Curry.
I love Steph Curry. Here we go the opposite. Now, we're going to go 180 degrees the other way. You know, I covered his dad, and so I knew the son was going to be a class act, as his brother is a class act. The kid has done nothing wrong his whole life, I don't think, and a pleasure to watch play. You know, there aren't too many players today that I would actually pay, to watch, but he's one of them. And you know, Mark Jackson, when he coached him, we all know what he said about him and Clay being the best shooting backcourt ever, and everybody, dogged Mark for it. And now I don't think there's any doubt about it. There isn't any doubt about it. So I just love him. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for being a great passer. Doesn't get enough credit for having, a great handle, great teammate. Yeah.
Peter, let me ask you a question, because I like Steph too, but we're now getting into the territory where we're always comparing generations.
That's terrible. Don't ask me to do it.
Okay. No, I won't ask you to do that. Well, I will ask you, how do you feel about the fact that we now are at the stage where Steph Curry is better than Magic Johnson?
Well, again, who said that? I don't know who said that.
I mean, is this?
Look again. I don't know how you can compare It's ridiculous. You can compare Russell and Chamberlain because they played against each other. But you can compare even Kobe and Jordan to some extent because they played against each other. But no, I mean, Magic is top 5, top 10 all time. No question. Curry is right there. Who was it the other day said that? Rick Barry said on my podcast that if he had to pick 5 players, beat anybody, and he's going to be on that team, he would pick the 3 centers, Russell, Kareem, and Wilt, and he'd pick Magic, but if they're going to play a three-point range, they're going to play a 3-pointer, he would have Curry instead of Magic. So I thought that was an interesting way of putting it.
Okay.
And look, how about greatness is greatness?
Absolutely.
And there you go. I mean, it's so stupid to try to compare and argue about it. Please, no.
Let's go with Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, again, I don't watch enough games to understand why he struggled last year. We know he's not a great shooter from 3-point range. Why he continues to take them, I don't know. Nobody had a problem with him when he was averaging triple doubles. And tiny. No, Oscar was the only one that did it before that. I don't know. I've seen stuff. You probably know more than I do about this. His coach didn't give him a role, didn't play him enough, didn't do this, didn't do that. I don't know. Again, if I was covering, I'd sure want to hear what LeBron had to say about him. On the record. I don't want to hear off the record. And that stuff's no good, but he's the only one that I would care about what he really thinks about him. Can he fit in? Does Westbrook want to fit in? I've never spoken to Westbrook in my life. I feel bad that I never got to do that, but I retired right as he came into his own.
Sure.
And so I don't know. I mean, the guy, great player. Great player, diverse, plays hard. I went out to dinner at the end of my career with Kobe, and Kobe told me that Westbrook was he named him as his favorite player at that time. He absolutely loved him. So things like that, I listen to players when they talk about other players. That's why I would love to know what LeBron really thinks about him. Kobe wasn't bullshitting me when we went out to dinner and I don't have a tape recorder or a pen,
Right.
So he loved his intensity, loved it, and loved his versatility. And so I'm gonna stick with that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Money.
Peter. One thing I love about you is that when you break a story or you make a guarantee about something, it actually happens. There's certain people on ESPN that would say, "I guarantee Kawhi is gonna go to the Lakers," and then when they don't, I knew Kawhi wasn't going to go. But there's you, for example.
That was another one. Let me interrupt. That was another one. I said Kawhi was going to the Clippers all the time.
There you go.
Right. And you own it. And not only are you right, you take the slack when you're not. So look, I wouldn't bring up the Sprewell situation where when you broke that, nobody knew anything about that until you broke that story. And at that time, you took a lot of slack for that. Like they thought you were.
No, I didn't take any slack because first of all, I broke it the day it happened, and I broke it that night. So the next morning's paper, it was in there. And by the time that it got on the wire, because our edition was about 9 o'clock at night Eastern time, so then everybody across the country could read it, and everybody was reacting to it. The Warriors, the Bay Area writers, they had to use everything that I had. They could not get anything else, and I was so proud of that because they didn't come up with anything new, not that next day, not the next week, not ever. I had it cold, and no, I didn't take it. I didn't take any heat for that. The only, Sprewell wound up, he's going to sue me. He's going to this and that, and we wound up meeting at the union office in New York. So he was suspended, and Billy Hunter was the executive director, and I came over there to interview him, and Billy Hunter did not want me in the room with him. And Sprewell said, no, come in the room. So we went in the room together. He didn't strangle me either. And he denied, what I had written. And I told him flat out, I said, you can bullshit all these other people. I said, but I know. So let's end it. And he gave me a great interview, not only for the Post, but for NBC. And you know what? We became friends. That's, another guy, he never threatened me, but, we became friends. I enjoyed interviewing him. I enjoyed being around him. He's certainly a good player. I endorsed the Knicks acquisition of him, and him and Marcus Camby took the Knicks to the finals that year.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's the Sprewell situation. Carlissimo, on the other hand, I had a line in my column at that time about, Sprewell strangling Carlissimo, who you're rooting for. I said it's like rooting for Iran against Iraq. So yeah, so that was the key line. But Carlissimo, he was an abusive coach in college and in the pros, and there's no question. And so he was responsible a lot for not getting strangled, but he definitely sparked it. He incited him, and he should have known when to back off. But so years later, he's out of work, and I'm at NBC, and I recommended to my boss that they hire him as an in-house commentator, working with me and I think Kevin Johnson at that time. And they did. And they hired him, and they got him back. That got him back in the league, basically, because then he went from there to an assistant's coach. I think he got another head coach after that. But I will say that Carlissimo thanked me for that. He knew what I had done.
And that's awesome.
That's appreciated.
So it's interesting how, the dynamics of the three of us, both of them turned out good.
I think I'll just say, I think that there's a respect. There's a respect when you're honest, when you tell the truth, when you call it straight. There's just, even from the people, the players that you're talking about or spilling the beans on, there's a respect because first of all, there has to be, you're being honest, but you're not afraid. You're like, this is the story. I'm going to tell it. I'm going to stand behind it. So I just think they have to respect that. They just don't have.
Well, I bring up Rod Strickland all the time because he's one of my favorite guys to this day.
He's my guy.
To this day. And so I was on his case a lot. He had a lot of things going on, as a player. But I would rip him, unravel him, whatever. And then he says this. He says, "Yeah." He said, "You did." He said, "But then the next day you'd be in the locker room." And I actually saved it because he sent me that on text by text. I saved it because it meant a lot to me that he understood that I was there. If he had something to say to me, well, here I am, And so he did he did a few favors for me regarding charity work and stuff like that. And he told me that when he got a head college job, that I was going to be at the first game, and I'm looking forward to that for LIU this year.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I love Rod.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I actually saw that documentary, The Point Gods. Seeing
Yeah, we could get into that. That was a bunch of shit.
we only got like 15 minutes, but
no, but I want to hear. I got to hear something.
No. I'm just saying. But what I want to say is that, I do like the fact, Peter, the fact when you have, the New York flavor, and I know that's like, it's cliche and everything like that, but what I like the fact is, like, you're not abrasive, but you're just real, and I was able to respect that because I'm a kid watching NBA on NBC. I'm a kid watching all of that stuff, and I'm watching Jordan break my heart year after year after year, and you're on the sideline and you're doing the stories, and the fact that you're doing these stories, but with real intent and trying to get the real story, not trying to.
I told you before we went on, don't kiss my ass. So let's.
I'm not trying to kiss your ass at the same time.
Let me answer the question.
Your roses.
Look, all right. Okay, so let me tell you. Okay, so
I love that I have fans like you. I really do. I love it. But let me get into the point guards. Okay. Because nobody else is going to get into it. Nobody else understands it. Like I'm trying to read somebody writing something about it that makes any sense, but they don't. Yeah. First of all, point guard was a nickname that I gave Mark Jackson. So think about it. He was a minister. Now he's a point guard. So they didn't even understand. Mark Jackson, and I told it to him, he's a co-producer on that, with Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith was not a point guard in New York City at all. He was a shooting guard. First of all, so what the hell? We went to the same high school. So what the hell is he doing on there? Because he's got a way of worming his way into everything. But point guard. So they have. I didn't even watch it. I have friends of mine. I said, who name the guys that were on it? They have God Shamgod and guys that never played in the NBA.
Right.
So what are we talking about? Point guard. They don't have Bob Cousy.
Nope.
From Queens.
Nope.
They don't have Lenny Wilkins from Brooklyn. They don't have, So I asked Mark. I said, Mark, what was that? How could you not have those guys in there? Tiny Archibald got mentioned. I was told he didn't want anything to do with it. Smart, very smart. But so your three guys in the Hall of Fame as point guards from New York are not even in it. They did mention Tiny. I said, Mark, how is it possible that you would do point guards and not have them? He says, well, we were just doing the 80s and the 90s. I said, Mark, and say that. How about announce that? You're not doing point guards in New York City. You're doing point guards from two decades. And I said, and if that's true, why isn't Jamal Tinsley in there? Why isn't I could go on and on. So that really pissed me off. Stupid. and the writers who cover TV and all that, they don't even know what's going on. They can't even figure it out. So I'm glad you almost asked me about it. I just decided to ask myself the question.
That's perfect.
You got it, dog.
It's perfect.
You got it.
I love that answer.
I love it. Okay, so now I know as a columnist, you generally have to remain kind of neutral. Just take the story as it comes and report it. But do you have a favorite team? Do you have a favorite team that you covered of all time?
Yes. Yeah. So I don't root for anybody really, but you brought up Curry. I absolutely love watching them play. I'm not happy about what they did with Mark Jackson and how that owner and the PR staff got away with killing him and still having trouble getting a job. It's all bullshit. But whatever. I love the Celtics when Bird played for them. I would have paid to watch Bird play every game, and I just love that. I love being around Julius Erving, with Philly and the Nets and stuff. But I didn't root for the teams. I just rooted for players. But a lot of teams had a lot of players that I liked. I haven't really rooted for players on the Knicks since Dick McGuire and Harry Gallatin retired.
Ooh.
But No, I'm not. So, I enjoyed the 99 team. I didn't cover the championship teams except peripherally. I covered the 73 team. I came in there part-time, but I was really an ABA writer at that time, and then I picked them up full-time in 74. So I didn't cover their championship. I was not in the building when Willis Reed limped out on the court, unfortunately.
Mm.
I won't tell lies and say I was there. So, a lot of players. I root for players and I root against players. I root against James Harden. I think he's whew, I don't know. We could go into stuff on the court, off the court.
Mhm.
Man, oh man.
Well,
But not too many like him. Not too many.
okay. And then you've dealt with, Pat, we'll be right back. You dealt with obviously a lot of coaches in your day.
Yeah.
Who was one of the most difficult coaches to
Popovich.
from?
Popovich. Oh, my
Always
God.
Popovich. All right, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, he just jumps out. He's just like a condescending, demeaning, mean person. I mean, he just, he does. Yeah, I know he does nice things. If you're his boy, I mean, I remember when Stan Albeck had a stroke. Lives in San Antonio, and he would, we'd have tickets for him every game, sitting down, where the players are. He got him a championship ring when they won. I mean, he does stuff like that. I get it, but he treated the media like shit. We got into it. We got into it a couple times, and I can't stand him. I mean, he's everything that's wrong with the media and versus trying to do their job. He never helped the media. Remember, all the times on TV where he would try to embarrass somebody who was interviewing him. I mean, the guy, man, oh man. Well, I'll tell you a quick story. If we have time.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I'd retired from by popular demand from TV. I was just doing the Post, and I went to cover a series between Dallas and San Antonio, and that was a great time because I was driving back and forth, and that was really cool. And so after a game in San Antonio, I believe, I sat in it was on TV, it was on NBA TV, and I asked him a question, and he tried to embarrass me, and he said something about my coaching at the Rucker, like what does that mean? I said, I won 4 championships, and I said, but he said, yeah. I said, well, look, I said, if I had Tim Duncan, I'd win championships here too, So yeah, so we got into it, and then I go in the locker room afterward, and he comes up to me, goes, "Oh man, that was fun."
He enjoys it.
No, I said no, that wasn't fun. I never spoke to him again. I said no, that wasn't fun. You're an asshole.
It's not fun at all.
So
Go ahead. Now, they just I'm not sure if you happen to watch it or even interested, but HBO had a series called Winning Time on the Lakers.
Yeah, no interest.
Any of that at all?
None, no interest whatsoever. I don't. My bottom line is I don't understand why they felt compelled to distort, exaggerate, fabricate. Why do they feel compelled to do that when I covered those teams? Now, some of the stuff they put out there, I read a lot about it, but some of the stuff they put out there is true, no question. Why would they have to mess with people's reputations like Jerry West? Why would they do that? It makes no sense to me because the Lakers during those years, there was so much stuff going on, believe me, behind the scenes, so much stuff that, I don't know whether if I ever write my book, will I divulge the stuff that was going on and who was doing it? I probably won't do it because I don't need it. I can do anecdotes without it. But
sure.
I mean, these fools doing that to Jerry West and, the stuff, I don't know. There were others like Kareem, I think was all pissed off about it. So no, I have no interest at all. And it's terrible because people don't know, we've discussed this already. People don't know what's true. They don't. So if you followed me and you got to trust me and blah, blah, so now you would know that what I'm putting out is true. These guys are putting out stuff to fans who have no idea that this is not true. It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wrong.
Gotcha.
So,
And
no.
then you were quoted as saying, I believe that ESPN never called you or requested information about The Last Dance either. Is that correct?
Correct. I talked to his agent about a woman in Chicago. I guess she's his agent, lawyer in New York, in Washington. But I asked her why they wouldn't call, because I broke some pretty damn big stories with him.
Heck yeah.
And she said, well, we just couldn't. There was too much going on. Wouldn't get back. I said, no. I said, I know the truth. I mean,
Yep.
First of all, you didn't want me on because you didn't want me saying what I know. but let me tell you something. Had he asked me, I wouldn't have done it anyway, because I'm not going to give him my content.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you I'm not going to say stuff that's, that you perceive as negative, and then it's going to hit the floor.
Exactly. They're going to cut
I'm
it.
not going to let you edit me. So, we had a good conversation, she and I, but Michael, look, he helped me many times in my career. He really did. And, but I find a lot of fault with what was going on. I'm actually starting to read this book. I just started reading it, Pippin's book. And I'm only 10 pages in, and he hasn't told a lie yet. And everything he said is absolutely true. So I'm going to look forward to finishing that book. Anyway, again, Michael helped me a lot, and he also lied about stuff with me. So whatever,
Yeah, I actually was going to ask you this before, so I think it's a great segment into it. You got the Kirk Gowdy Award in 2009 in the Naismith Hall of Fame, and that was the same year that Jordan went in. And so my original question was, how did it feel going in the same time as Jordan, into the Hall of Fame?
Well, I know what he would say. How the opposite. How do you like going in with me? Because it seemed like he stole my speech. My speech was controversial, and then his was controversial the next night. It is meaningful that I went in with him and Stockton and Robinson and Jerry Sloan, and it was meaningful. But the Hall of Fame, they do everything wrong to me as far as I'm concerned. They never ever put me next to those people that I could actually have a picture with them. Not one. So I don't have anything from there. They gave me a trophy, which I auctioned off about 5 years ago. I think I got
charity.
Whatever I got, they paid too much for it. And the reason I say that is like I found out that I'm not really in the Hall of Fame. I'm not really. The Kurt Gowdy Award is a bogus award. It's just another award for the Hall of Fame to make some money on another night, because when Mel Daniels was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, as it turned out, he couldn't make it because he was sick and he died soon afterward. But he and I were very, very tight, and he wanted me to present him. And the Hall of Fame people said, "No, you can't. You're not in the Hall of Fame." And I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, No, you're in the Kurt Gowdy. You're in the media." I said, "Really?" I put my trophy up for auction soon after that. I was like, "I'm not in it."
Understood.
Wow, and I never knew that.
So Peter, I was going to ask you, because I follow multiple sports, and when I see like the Hall of Fame, it's usually to the pro league of whatever that is, right? So it's you have Canton, you have Springfield, and then you have all these great like Hall of Fame with their pro sports, but the NBA is I don't want to say convoluted. I don't want to say that. It feels watered down. It's like if you're great internationally, if you did something for the league, or if you did something internationally, or in like Olympics, or like, it just didn't feel like the Hall of Fame for these.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, you're right. My dog is coughing to death.
Oh, you're fine.
But no, it is watered down, and because again, the Springfield Hall of Fame is all about making money. They're going to put in the Nike boss. They're going to put in a Nike executive. They're going to put in Dino Raja, for Christ's sake. It's like, I mean, it's like anybody, now they have a new award. They made up an award so that Jim Gray could get an award. Oh my God, that's
That guy.
if I hadn't sold my my plaque or trophy before, I would have got rid of it when he got in. And this year they're putting in my old boss from NBC, Dick Ebersol. For what?
For what?
What did he do? It's this new award, but I guarantee you that. Well, I can't guarantee it because I don't want to get sued. But I suspect that Jim Gray and the others that get this award are kicking in money to get it. So,
And like the Hollywood,
The Hollywood
Walk
Hall
of
of
Fame.
Fame, yeah.
The Hollywood Walk of Fame.
exactly, and he did pay for that. He got his. I think he paid 15 or 30,000 to get his.
Yeah. And then you have to pay a yearly.
No shame at all.
No, absolutely.
Oh my God.
Peter, thank you so much. We finish each episode with a short segment we call Money Mike's Out of Bounds. Money Mike is going to share his thoughts or opinion on a topic, and he just wants to know if those thoughts are in bounds or out of bounds. Money Mike, you got the mic.
All right. So, hey, Peter, first of all, thank you for coming on. I've enjoyed every second of this. And my out of bounds.
It's all off the record, This show is all.
No, this is on the record. I've enjoyed every second on the record. now, you said you didn't want to compare errors and stuff, but I gotta ask you this question. I apologize. Am I out of bounds? We all know that LeBron is going to play this year. He more likely is going to break Kareem's record. And be the all-time scoring list, right? But am I out of bounds to say, because I know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has made only one 3-point shot in his whole career, and we know that LeBron has made thousands. Am I out of bounds for saying that Kareem's scoring accomplishment is more valuable than LeBron's?
Well, first of all, I don't think it has anything to do with a 3-point shot. Okay.
You get extra points, so
Yeah, but he's a center, so he's got a hook shot, so that's unstoppable. Why would he go out there and take that? But no, I think you're looking at it wrong. You should be looking at it from the point where LeBron came from high school and had those 4 years. Imagine Kareem was ready to play pro ball coming out of high school. Imagine if he didn't go to UCLA and win 3 championships with UCLA, all those points that he would have piled up those years. So, LeBron, look, I gather, you disrespect him a little bit, but I look, he's a great player. To me, longevity is much of it, but he's been injured the last 2 years now. So you're kind of saying he's going to break Kareem's record. The last time we saw that was Karl Malone. He was going to break it, and then he got hurt. Mm-hmm. Kobe was going to break it, then he got hurt. So LeBron has been hurt twice in the last 2 years, and so there's no guarantee. And I don't wish him any bad luck. I mean, he breaks it, but let's see what happens.
Absolutely. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Can you please let our listeners and followers know you have a podcast and the best way to keep up to date with what you are going on with right now?
Yeah, I do. I've only done 9 podcasts for the Retired Players Association. You can look it up. It's like Legends of Basketball. And then you go to Hoop du Jour or My Name. But the 9 I've done are really, really good ones. Julius, I mentioned, I did Oscar, I did Jerry West, I did George Gervin, McAdoo, a lot of Lakers in there. Yeah. Dominique Wilkins, Michael Ray Richardson one is terrific. I mean, nice. He really is down, lets it all out. I hope I have, and Rick Barry I just did. So I've done 9, I'm working on a couple others that I want to do. I want to do Isaiah. I'd like to do Pippen. I'd love to do Pippen. I'd love to do. I want to do Bobby Dandridge. He's got terrific stories. So mostly, except for Richardson, all Hall of Famers.
Excellent, awesome. Peter. Thank you so much for joining us again. We're so honored just to have you on and to hear your story straight from you and tell it like it is, like you have done your entire career. We really appreciate it. We hope we can have you on again someday soon, and we look forward to that day. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
For
Yeah, it was good talking basketball with you.
Yeah,
Thank you
great.
very much.
If you ever write a book, man, I'm going to get it.
Oh, I'm coming to that. There we go.
Please consider it. Please consider it.
I've got a lot written. I just have to figure out. It's like the Bob Seger line: what to leave in, what to leave out.
There it is. There it is. Well, just put it all in there, and we'll read it all. That's what we want to hear. Thank you again. Thank you so much, and we'll see you. We'll keep up to date with what you got going on online. Thank you.
Thank you
very much, Peter.
You're welcome.
God bless.
Thank you. That's it. That's absolutely amazing.
That's
wonderful.
It, dude.
Man, I need another 30 minutes.
I know we could have gone on forever.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
we promised him an hour. He stuck with us, and we held
He
to
did
that.
it, dude. It's like 12:30.
But Peter, yeah, exactly. He's there. He stayed up till 12:30 on East Coast time. He told it exactly how it is. He told it straight, exactly how we expected it. He hasn't
Hall of
changed a
Fame.
bit.
I told you, Hall of Fame's wild, dude.
Wow.
What are we
Like, he's not even in it. And
Yeah.
he auctioned it off. Like, that's how much he cares about that.
Yeah.
Before we
Well,
leave,
thank
I
you.
want to give some shout outs. Shout out to Big Baby Jonathan.
Yep, absolutely.
Of sticking with us always, chiming in. Appreciate you.
He's going to be in it in a
He's our
couple
guest.
weeks.
in a
Yes,
couple
you're going to be
weeks.
a guest. Can't
2
wait
weeks.
to have you in the show. P. Johns, my man, P. Johns, 2 peas in the pot, bro. You know what I'm talking about. I got my boy Tony.
Tony,
Hey, man.
South
Hey,
Bay Lakers, Tony.
for sure, man. Thank you for listening to us, man. We love doing this show for y'all. So keep chiming in, keep letting us know, man, because we appreciate the energy. So I just
If you
want to say
guys
that.
have any guest suggestions, let us know.
Yeah, put it
We'll
in the
go
comments.
after
Let
it.
us know.
We love the hard guests. We love to go after them. We love to get them on the show. So definitely. We will be back next week. Next week we have
Crystal Hogan.
female referee.
She's a female referee. She's the first Division I NCAA referee.
Okay.
And she also refereed the Drew League.
Today. She refereed
Today.
the championship
Oh,
game
boy.
today.
Oh,
Matter of fact, it was the first ever all female
referee staff.
referee.
Yep.
Today, and
at
they
the Drew.
refereed the championship game.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
that's
So
a
Crystal
milestone
Hogan's
right
gonna
there.
be
Next
in
week.
next week.
All right.
And I'm gonna tell y'all, man.
Ready.
You know, we've seen her out there. She's all business, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna
All
be
right.
great.
All right.
And then,
All right.
and then Big Baby after
Big
that.
baby, yeah, we got BBJ coming in after
BBJ.
that.
After that. So stick with us. Be sure to follow us online. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That's how you're going to keep up to date with our guests and know what's going on. But we're here every Sunday night starting at 8:30 Pacific. We got Stat Pat, Money Mike. I'm Simsta.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. Thank you guys. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everybody who watched and commented. We'll see you.
Yes. Peace.